Andrea.
All right, college football up and moving. One of the faces and best writers in the sport from Sports Illustrated, Ross Dellinger, joins us every Monday morning here on Off the Bench to recap the weekend. Look forward to the week ahead in the sport. And Ross is with us. Good morning. How are you, Ross?
Good. How are y'all?
Doing good,
Doing
man.
well, man.
What did you make of what you saw in Athens? I thought that this was a huge spot for Bo Nix, and Auburn was going to be a mile marker as far as being able to give you some feedback on where he was in year two. And as T-Bob and I were talking about last segment, if that is the case, they're not even close. What did you make of what you saw from Georgia and Auburn on Saturday?
Yeah, I think what stuck out to me is what has kind of stuck out about Georgia, right, the last few years is they're better at the line of scrimmage than pretty much everybody they play. Offensive lines and defensive lines, they are better. And it's not a real big surprise if you go back on signing day. And I think I saw somebody tweet this out, and I thought it was a very appropriate. Is that the Auburn Georgia game is won by Georgia every year in February, with the guys they bring in. I remember I think I've talked to you guys about it on the show before, but SEC Media Days, the last one we had last year, I remember compiling the numbers of maybe it was 5-star, I think, signees in the SEC. Georgia has more than Alabama. They have the most over the last 4 years since Kirby's been there. And I think we saw exactly that come out on the field. They're just better at the line of scrimmage. Now, are they going to be good enough, Georgia, to beat the Alabamas, of the world, or the Ohio States? That maybe we'll find out, I guess, in about a week and a half in Tuscaloosa. But certainly they feel head and shoulders above the Auburn level, and it is disappointing for Auburn, I'm sure, but at the same time, you just look at the talent over there, and they're really, really talented, and they have been the last few years. They've just kind of been missing, right, a piece or two here, not making a play or two here, specifically against Alabama. And I don't know if this year is the year that happens or not, but they certainly showed how much better they are than the Auburn Tigers. And now you're looking at Auburn down the stretch with some question marks, right? It should be interesting to follow. It seems like every year we talk about the Gus bus and it being on the hot seat, so to speak. And I'm sure that's going to be the case this year as well.
Talking to Ross Dellinger here on OTB. Ross, top to bottom, SEC West or SEC East through 2 weeks?
Well, through 2 weeks only, I think it probably is the East, which is shocking. I don't know the last time I said that, but Georgia and Florida and even Tennessee look pretty strong, man. I mean, they look impressive. And then after you see what Georgia did to Auburn, I think you definitely kind of drift in that direction of the SEC East being maybe a tiny bit stronger through the first 2 weeks. I don't know if they are overall stronger, but I'll tell you what, Florida Gators,
they look really
good. I mean, I think some people have mentioned it over the weekend, but they do remind you the way they play and the way they score specifically of LSU last year.
Yeah, I agree. Kyle Trask is playing fantastic. So is Mac Jones. If you had to pick one of those two guys, who do you think? I think the more interesting question is, who do you think will be on top by season's end, just from like a pure quarterback evaluation standpoint?
Yeah, just quarterback only and not necessarily team that surrounds him, because I think, Mac Jones probably has an advantage when it comes to the whole team surrounding him. And I watched a lot of Mac, and he made some great throws. He really looked good against Texas A&M, and he looked pretty good the week before against Kentucky as well. But I do think Trask is probably going to be maybe a nudge better by the end of the season when it comes to quarterback evaluation stuff and projections at the next level, especially. But he's got people around him too. I mean, the Kyle Pitts kid is playing, out of his mind. I think 6 touchdowns or something through a couple of games. It's been wild to watch that. Speaking of, players on the next level, I mean, obviously that guy's making himself a lot of money right now.
Yeah, Trask has 10 touchdown passes through 2 weeks, 6 of them going to Kyle Pitts.
It's for Heisman. Let's get a tight end the award. Come on,
Ross. How tough is life in Norman, Oklahoma this morning?
Oh man, wow! I mean, who saw that coming? I think it's the back-to-back Big 12 losses for the first time since the mid or late '90s at OU. So it's almost been 30 years. It's crazy to kind of wrap your mind around that. A lot of questions, guys. We've seen the hole in Oklahoma the last few years, and it's gotten exposed when they play really elite competition, specifically when they play SEC teams in the playoff. We've seen it happen against Georgia, Alabama, and LSU. And it's their defense, and it's been exposed. It's exposed for several years in a row, and thought maybe they're turning a corner with Alex Grinch last year. And then late last season, the defense kind of went back to old, it felt like, and then obviously this year, the offense can't quite keep up with the defense, which is just about as poor as we've seen at OU the last few years. I mean, the tackling, I didn't watch that whole game against Iowa State, but I watched bits and pieces late, and the tackling was just atrocious. I mean, just really bad, and that's fundamental stuff. So there's going to be some soul searching this week in Norman for sure.
My good friend Larry Plank Ross wants me to ask you, who is on the hotter coaching seat right now? Is it Tom Herman at Texas or is it Jimbo Fisher at A&M?
I'd probably say Tom, but that's a good question, and I think both of those guys are probably in a way feeling it. Here's the thing about Jimbo. I mean, his deal is guaranteed. It's got, I think, 7 more years left.
I guess I think of it more of like a fan satisfaction thing, because you're right. I mean, Jimbo's not in any threat of being fired.
No,
Great business by Woodward. Great business by Woodward, locking the Yankees into that for a decade.
That's right. Good job, Woody, right? Yeah, way to stick it to him.
I hadn't considered that.
That is a great move.
Yeah. But I still would probably say Tom. There's certainly some serious frustrations over there, and although their buyout is big too, and their staff buyout is big. I think I saw Max Olson from The Athletic tweeted about that last week, about how big the buyout would be. I mean, it's multiple millions of dollars for the staff in him, but not quite as much as Jimbo, which I think at this point it's still like 70+ million, which is insane. Or not 70+ million, it'd be around 50+ million, but it's still like insane to think about. So yeah, I would still say that it's Tom. There's and you wonder how much the pandemic will impact some of these decisions that are going to be made when it comes to firing. We thought it would be a slow year, and then a game in, Southern Miss fired Jay Hopson. So I don't know how slow it's really going to be. You've got some serious seats that are warm. From Tom Herman to Will Muschamp at South Carolina, maybe Gus, as we just talked about.
Yeah.
I don't know really how much that the pandemic's going to impact these decisions, because we all know that the triggers can be pulled pretty quickly at these places.
SI.com, from SI.com, every Monday here on Off the Bench, Ross Dellinger talking college football. You can hit him on Twitter at Ross Dellinger, a great read and follow to keep up with all of what's happening with college football. Last one, we'll get you out of here. LSU bounced back, much expected in Nashville versus Vanderbilt, but some high points. Miles Brennan throws for 300 yards again, a couple of new faces making some plays. Anything that you saw from the Tigers stand out on Saturday night?
Well, Emory, he when number 4 got the ball, I made sure to put down my drink and made sure I was paying attention to the game, because he was making some really good plays. He's a hard runner. He's got some shiftiness with the feet too. I was impressed. He stuck out. Obviously, Miles' numbers, I think I saw, were through 2 games of a career, it's the most ever for a quarterback in LSU history, right? So what we're seeing, I think, well, first of all, we're seeing them show off a little bit Miles' arm, but also we're seeing what Ed Orgeron talked about over the offseason is they're going to keep the offense, the
Yes.
same. And
Yes.
it does look pretty similar, right? I mean, you guys would know it and seen it more than me, but it does look like they're keeping it the same. But Emory really stood out, and I'm sure they're going to ride him a little more this season because it was impressive.
Yeah, I think they're tailoring it around the edges, as you should, but the core philosophies remain the same, which is ultimately great for LSU fans. Ross, make sense of Mississippi State to me after 2 weeks.
The Mike Leach experience, right? That's what we've seen for years and years with his team. They will shock you and have a big upset, and then they will lose the very next week to probably a team they shouldn't. And we've seen that over and over again. But I would just wonder how much, when you go look back at Bob at that LSU game, if LSU would have made some
it's pure scheme.
adjustments.
No, I mean, it drove home that it was pure scheme why you lost that game.
Yeah, and it's disappointing, really is, because, man, I just kept waiting, right, for, okay, when they're going to back up the corners, when they're going to play some zone, and it just never happened.
Yeah. Deli, have a good week, a good weekend. We'll talk to you next Monday.
All right, guys, see y'all.